Hi, gang. Welcome back to the channel. I'm not going to bury the lead here. This is probably not going to be a short one, but I'll try to keep it reasonable. Something's happened in the last few days. I'm sure if you're a gamer, you're already aware of it. If you're a gaming content creator, I'm damn sure you're aware of it. And I want to share it with you guys. And I'm really going to, I really look, ain't gonna lie, full disclosure, I want to get as many people on this channel as I can. I want to monetize it because it's one more way I can help my family and help myself and keep on writing for a living. I have a Patreon. My Patreon people are amazing. I'm very thankful for all of you. And if you want to jump on Patreon, please feel free. Um, we do a lot of fun stuff and we got a lot of fun stuff coming. But bottom line is, right now, this is not a monetized channel. I don't have enough people. I don't have enough content, but I'm working diligently to try to keep stuff going. And this is one that if you care about tabletop role playing games, you care about the hobby of role playing, or if you care about the rights of a creator and a storyteller to do what they do, please share this video. Please, I encourage you. I'm going to mention a huge tip of the hat to some of the folks that I've been watching their videos the last few days. Arcane Library, which I was not familiar with, but popped up in my feed, and I've now joined. I encourage you to do as well. Arcane Library, Dungeons and Discourse, which is a spinoff channel from Discourse Minis. I urge you to jump on both those channels and subscribe because I had no clue any of this was happening until I watched Discourse Mini's video on it. And she's made several others since then. And they're invaluable. She also talks a lot about Games Workshop. Um, and it's just a really good channel if you're into gaming and you kind of want to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in gaming, what's happening right now. Clownfish TV, I also encourage you to sign up with them. They are awesome. And I get a lot of value and a lot of good information out of their videos. And Neon is all about the D&D and the tabletop gaming, and he's been following it pretty closely. And then finally, the Rules Lawyer, who I believe is who broke this story initially on YouTube. I could be wrong. If I am, I'm sorry. You guys can let me know in the comments. But Rules Lawyer, who I also signed up for, while I do not have his love or enthusiasm for Pathfinder, we actually one of my Twitter folks, friend of mine on Twitter, is going to come on here and we're going to talk about Pathfinder 2.0, which they are telling me it's a lot better. And Rules Lawyer, the reason I got onto this is Rules Lawyer was talking about how Pathfinder 2.0 was better and easier to run than 5.0 D&D. And that may be the case. My beef with Pathfinder was how complicated it got and what an unmitigated cash grab. When they have they will just charge your credit card and send you all the stack of books we're putting out every month for the game. That was a bit much. I sold off all of my Pathfinder stuff except for the campaign world book for first edition. I haven't picked up any second edition stuff, but maybe my buddy will be able to persuade me because as it stands right now, I am not giving Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro another dime of my money. I'm not going to give them another penny of my money. That ain't happening because reasons, and here are the reasons. This is also going to be a little autobiographical because I kept thinking to myself, why am I so upset about this? And here's why. My story, my background. I have always wanted to tell stories. I've always loved telling stories. One of my earliest memories is sitting on my mom's lap, looking out at the Blue Ridge Mountains and she's reading me an Avengers comic book. There was like a Hulk robot, and the Avengers fucked it up, and and it was repeating over, the Hulk is in the desert, the Hulk is in the desert. And for like a day or two, my mom says I ran around saying the Hulk is in the desert over and over again. I love storytelling. When I was a kid, I had a ton of like Mego action figures. They're action figures, they're not dolls. Um, but there was a Rose's department store, and my mom would go in there. They had a lunch counter. I'm really old. Um, and we'd eat at the lunch counter, and I would go look in the toy section, and it was like one of the only places at the time that I could find Mego action figures. And they had Spider-Man and Batman and Robin, Superman. They had villains. They did action figures for like the Rookies, SWAT, Emergency, and they did vehicles, and they made bat caves, and it was just like a dream come true for a little proto geek like me. And a lot of times I'd have my buddies stay over like for the weekend because my mom was the cool mom and she would let us do that. And we would come up with these like whole freaking epic stories around the little Mego figures and what they'd be doing. And we'd build bases, and we'd have super villains do stuff. And that was, I guess, the beginning of my love of role play. So flash forward ahead, we have a mall locally, and they have a hobby shop upstairs. And I wander in, and I see this box. I really should have grabbed the box so I could hold it up for you. It's not the original. My original box and games and stuff, who knows what the hell happened to them. But it was the painted box for D&D. It came with a little blue rule book that gave you like levels 1 through 3. It was a step up from the white books, which once I kind of fell into the hole, I went and got the white books eventually. You know, the little white box with the little books like chainmail. I got chainmail, Malay, wizardry, Blackmore. I can't remember the rest of them. But that first set was the little box set that they put out. That was kind of like the gateway drug between the little white box books that were first edition and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is most people consider second edition. And I fell in love with it. Just the look of it. And then I read the back of it. And it was talking about how you could create your own adventures, your own fantasy adventures. You could play a warrior. You could play a wizard. And I fell in love. And my mother, bless her heart, was at this point, you know, I bought comic books. I bought the stupid little records with the comics. I forget the name of the company they did this, but they did like Spider-Man books and Marvel books and DC books. She just knew how much I loved all this weird stuff. And to my credit, to my very eternal fortune, I had a mom who was supportive of all that. She didn't tell me it was stupid. She didn't tell me it was juvenile. She didn't tell me no. She basically was like, okay, I think we can swing that. So I got it. And then I got my buddies together, and this would have been like the end of middle school. And we spent a summer playing D&D. And then Walden Bookstore, which is gone now, but Walden's was around at the time. Walden Books started carrying the hardcovers, Player's Handbook, then the Dungeon Master's Guide. And actually, the Monster Manual came out first. Monster Manual, then it was the Player's Handbook, then the Dungeon Master's Guide. And scooped those up. So now we're playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. My bestest buddy in the world, Steve, his brother Jeff, who has passed on now. Jeff was our first dungeon master. He had been a cadet at VMI and had fallen in love with like war games. So even before I'd ever heard of D&D, we were playing SPI and Avalon Hill board games over at my friend Steve's house with those huge stacks of chits and stuff like that. So anyways, we played all summer, and that was it. And a lot of my friends, came and went with the hobby. Others stuck with it, but I stuck with it all the way through. I ended up running into a group of science fiction fantasy fans. Most of them were college age, and this time I was like, I think I was just a teen. I think I was like 12 or 13. Um, and I've been playing for over a year with my buddies, and then I met these guys. Met Jack Patterson, who has also passed on now. Jack was my first campaign dungeon master and had this amazing world that he had thought out. Jack was brilliant, and he had worked out an economy based off of like the distribution of treasure. He had worked out this whole bizarre world that was very unique. And I was just like a kid in a candy store. And me and the other players, I was the little snot nosed kid that they tolerated. Thank you guys. And played a lot. I'm not gonna lie, probably during end of middle school through high school, I probably played role playing games at least once a week, if not more. And my mom got shit for it too, because she was a sweet little Baptist lady, and I was playing the devil's Bible, and mom would always defend me, always defend me. He has friends, and they're sweet, they're good boys. They don't get into trouble. They don't drink. They don't smoke that there devil's lettuce. They're good boys. Now, just so you know, the college guys I hung with get all of that shit, but they never dragged me. I never felt any like, come on. It was always like I had options, and the fact that my mom trusted me and loved me enough to include this little freaking circle of nerds into her world and trust them with her baby boy meant I didn't want to disappoint her. So I waited till I got to college to really let go. There were a few things in there in high school, but for the most part, I was a pretty good boy. But it was just amazing. It wandered into other genres. I started making up games for myself with pencil and paper, which I guess now Wizards of the Coast would want a piece of if I sold them or something. Anyways, D&D. D&D rolled into Traveler. Traveler rolled into Rune Quest, Call of Cthulhu, and eventually World of Darkness. Now, this is where I need to start taking this away from autobiographical and making it about what I'm ranting about today. When World of Darkness came out, D&D was faltering. It was the end of second edition, and people were tired of it. It was a genre that was pretty much played out. And D&D had tried for a while to jazz it up, like they did Spelljammer, which was like science fiction, fantasy. They had Ravenloft, which was like horror fantasy, and they did a lot. They did some stuff where you could like build a kingdom, and fight armies to expand and build an empire, all with your D&D characters. They did as much as they could, and there's a lot of good second edition stuff. But then you had World of Darkness come along, Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf, Mage, Wraith, Changeling, and it appealed to a very different role-playing game crowd. And it also was just cool. And it was like, look, the rules are not that important. The story is what's important. And a lot of role players hated that. But a lot of them didn't. Because you have different kinds of role players. Some folks are just like, for no offense, but rules lawyers. They love to learn all the intricacies of the game because it gives them an advantage. Sometimes even over the guy running the game, because I was not a rules lawyer. I was always a role playing guy. I was like, the story is the most important thing, and story and everyone having fun. That's the most important thing. So, but what happened is Vampire just took most of the market share. And D&D found itself in a very, very bad place. It also fell victim to the thing that I've seen happen again and again and again and again. And it happened to the World of Darkness, White Wolf Games people too. It became a fucking corporation. Now, I am a capitalist. I own a lighter that says fuck communism. Preacher reference. Thanks, Dave. I love that lighter, by the way. Um, I believe in people being able to create something and profit from their creation, which is why what WotC is trying to do right now is pissing me off so much. But D&D went from a garage company, a bunch of old white guys who created this game in a base, basically in their basement because they wanted something to jazz up their mini wargaming, to a megacorp. And then they kicked the folks who created the stuff out for the most part. Same thing happened with White Wolf. It became corporate and went from being a bunch of college age guys and girls hanging out, living together in a house in Georgia, using the garage as their warehouse, to this huge multi-million-dollar megacorp. And then the lawyers and the corporate guys kicked a lot of the creatives out. And that brings us to what's going on right now. The way at the time, it was TSR. I believe they were still TSR. No, they were Wizards. They had been bought by Wizards at this point. Wizards of the Coast got some of the best and the brightest, and they play tested for years, and they came out with 3rd edition D&D, and it was a game changer. The rules had changed significantly. Focus had changed significantly. The quality of the product was exceptional. And the thing that really blew everyone's mind was the open game license, the OGL. The open game license basically said, as long as you put a copy of this license in your book, and as long as you state on the cover of the book or on the back jacket copy that you that require it's compatible with the world's greatest role-playing game or the world's best-selling role-playing game, and requires a player's handbook, 3rd edition player's handbook, you're golden. And it created a renaissance. It created a huge interest in D&D because they were good rules. 3rd edition was good rules. And it had a lot of new stuff that really excited and invigorated, I think, a lot of old players. And you're always going to have folks who are like, 2nd edition, and after that it was crap. And I totally respect that understanding, because I'm that way with a lot of things. But I really, at the time, I owned a game store, and I ran a 3rd edition campaign and had so much fun with all these kids from the store. It was a great experience for them. A lot of them got into role playing and kept on going. It reinvigorated my interest in D&D, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And the OGL basically allowed people to, I want to create a superhero game using the game system that is in D&D. I want to create a science fiction game. I want to create a modern game. I want to create a Western. I want to create adventure modules. I want to create supplemental rules. Feats were introduced in 3rd edition, and there were so many books of additional feats. It's one of the 3rd edition D&D took on the creep that other games have, including other iterations of D&D, have taken on, which is they just put out so many freaking books. Pathfinder, it does the same thing, or did the same thing. I don't think they're doing it as much now. But that OGL was like a friendly invitation to gamers. Now, again, like I said, I'm a capitalist. D&D is owned by Wizards of the Coast, which in turn is owned by Hasbro, which I'm pretty sure in turn is owned by the devil. In my opinion, JK. But Hasbro is basically the Disney of gaming. Well, actually, they're neck and neck in competition with Games Workshop. But I think Games Workshop may have actually learned their lesson finally, and that's a whole story for another day. But the OGL created this whole other market for stuff related to D&D. It's like I knew how to play third edition. Oh, I can play this game now because it uses the same system. And folks made some money. The most prominent was the folks at Paizo who made Pathfinder based off of third edition D&D. And then eventually 3.5 came out and they cleaned up a few things. And by the time 3.5 came out, not too long thereafter, Paizo, by the way, started out with, hey, you can download our game book for free as a PDF right off the internet. And one of the things that was really exciting about Paizo is they created a world and they created adventures where you could do stuff other than just dungeon crawl. It really started to like expand D&D beyond the, oh, I get copyright sued for saying D&D beyond. I don't know. It took Dungeons and Dragons to a different level. It opened it up to a lot more role-playing possibilities and some freaky cool character classes and stuff like that. It was a renaissance. And D&D profited tremendously from that renaissance. And the OGL has been around for over 20 years. And now, with what's coming from D&D next year, we're supposed to get 1D&D. And 1D&D is supposedly going to be a lot like 5th edition, but they're changing things in it. And I'll be really honest, I had some interest in like what was going to come out of it, and kind of every role player when a new edition of something comes out, kind of noses around it. I could give less than a damn. 1D&D could be the best role-playing game ever created by a human mind. I don't care at this point, and here's why. Because Wizards of the Coast is run by someone who came over from Microsoft, from their gaming division. And she saw a need. Now, and just to be fair, it's not just her, because the next level up, the guy from Hasbro, also from Microsoft, they are wanting to, they see D&D as being under-monetized. What that means, gentle viewer, is that if you're paying about $150+ for the core books, the big three, Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, Monster Manual, and then some dice, and maybe some minis. So let's say you sink about $200 total into your D&D investment. Now, most folks who are just players may not even own a Player's Handbook. But if you get into it, you usually end up buying a Player's Handbook. So let's say for the player, you might have $100 invested in this hobby. For the Dungeon Master, you probably have $200+ invested in this hobby. And you know what? Hasbro, a multi-million-dollar company that owns the Transformers and owns, geez, My Little Pony probably, and I think they got their claws into Pokemon a little bit, maybe. Hasbro doesn't think that's enough money out of your pocket, so they came up with the idea of 1D&D, a virtual tabletop, which, by the way, they've already been around. They were innovated and created by other companies, by individuals and other corporations, other companies that saw a need, created a product, took the risk, put their own money into it, and got rewarded for it. Roll20 is the one that pops to mind. 1D&D, Wizards of the Coast, they want to shut all that down. They want to control any kind of representation of their game on other medium. So in other words, if you have a Twitch channel and you run a D&D game on your Twitch channel, they can shut you down or they can shake you down. Critical Role, you enjoy watching Critical Role? I'm betting, from what I was listening to when I was watching the Clownfish video, they may have already made some kind of a deal, because there are Critical Role books that have come out under the D&D banner. So Matt Mercer and company may have some kind of a little backroom deal with D&D. But for every Critical Role, there is a, is it Roll20? Not Roll20, D20? There's other groups that do the same thing. They don't have a deal. And unless they make a deal with the mob, they could theoretically just get put out of business. Just today, this morning, I've talked personally to one of my friends who owns a gaming company, not a D&D. He doesn't make D&D modules. He doesn't do anything having to do with 5th edition D&D. However, the group of players, the game system that he runs is partly under the Open Gaming License 1.0 license. So the products he produces and stuff are things that are comparable with D&D, with the D20 system. I even heard, and thank goodness there's already been a court ruling about this years ago, but that D&D might want to like copyright a D20, that using a D20 makes it connected to their game system. However, there's a court ruling that says you can't do that already. But hey, that's what appeals courts are for, right? Right? And armies of lawyers that Hasbro has, and almost every one of these little companies doesn't. So what they want to do is basically say, under the new gaming license, which you will have to bend the knee and sign your company, it was going to be if you made $750,000 or more a year off of D&D products. Games Workshop, sorry, Freudian slip. Wizards of the Coast got a taste of that now with the revised open gaming license 1.0 or 2.0, I guess it would be. As it is now, that's gone down. Someone leaked apparently a preemptive copy of the new OGL to the public, and Rules Lawyer went over it in very great detail. And I'll put links to all these folks' channels in the description of the video. And I strongly recommend you check them out and check out their videos. They are much, much smarter than me, and they are full-on gaming channels. I am a hobbyist, and I do whatever interests me on this channel. And I know I've been talking a lot about D&D, and before that was Henry Cavill, all this other shit. But kind of my primary focus is writing, but it's also storytelling, and this relates to storytelling. If this new leaked license is accurate, which apparently all the reports as of today are saying it is, Wizards of the Coast will own your content if you release something under the Open Gaming License 2.0. And maybe you even own the content. They may even own the content if you used Open Gaming License 1.0. What they're saying basically is, hey, that's a great module. We really like it. It's ours now. No optioning. There's no royalties. There's no compensation. You were stupid enough to use their game system and trust in their open gaming license. And now you and your company and your employees are going to pay for that. People are leaving the D&D platform in droves over this, and I'm one of them. I enjoy 5th edition a great deal, and I own most of the 5th edition products that have come out. Well, that's not most of the 5th edition books. There was one more book I really, really wanted. One or two. I'm not going to get them now. I refuse. I am not giving this company another dime of my money, because they're hurting my friends, people I know personally. I was on a conversation earlier today with a game designer named John Watts. John's company put out a Facebook post this morning basically saying that they are going to have to reevaluate everything under this OGL revision, which may be coming out as early as the 13th, like next week. Now, Wizards could have floated this as a trial balloon, as a negotiating tactic. They could have floated this to see how many people freaked out over it. And they could come back and go, oh, no, 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 it's not like that. It's like this. Isn't this so much better? Mm-hmm. It's an old negotiating tactic. You start with the worst. You go overboard, and then you negotiate up to what you really wanted. So John is probably going to come on my YouTube channel in the next few days. I also invited him to invite any other gaming content folks who want to jump on. And if any of you all out there are in the business as writers, developers, your friends, your family do this for a living, would love to talk to you. Just make comments in the make comments on how I can contact you in in the comment section, or you can contact me through Facebook, Twitter, um, my Discord channel. Um, so get a hold of me. I'd love to talk to you, and I'd love to hear your view on it. I'd love to give you a platform to express how this is affecting you and your life and your family. Because make no mistake, this is going to put people out of work. And I am not one of these like down with corporation people. I'm really not. I believe you judge corporations the same way you judge people, by what they do, not what they say, what they actually do. So WotC has the opportunity to become a white knight in this. They have the opportunity to say, okay, we're leaving the gaming license alone. It's been in place for 20 years. It's been in place for 1.5 revisions of our game. It's gotten us a lot of, it's sold us a lot of product. And we appreciate all of you out there in the secondary market. Oh, by the way, it went from $750,000 a year that you make to $50,000 a year. If you make $50,000 a year writing D&D modules, or publishing D&D modules, or publishing monster manuals, like additional monster manuals, or anything else D&D adjacent, if it's under that gaming license, that OGL, it's theirs. That's what the current leaked version of the OGL says. Now, Wizards has the time to make it right. They are a corporation. They own that intellectual property, and if this is the way they want to play it, they have every right to play it. And me, as an individual who doesn't owe them fuck all, have the same right to say, I am not buying any of your products. I'm going to buy Index Card RPG. I'm going to buy Viking Death Squad. I'm going to buy Easy D6, and I'll use those products and make up my stories and have adventures with those. What is sad is that, look, I think I've said this before, I grew up in Stranger Things. Not the Demogorgon face monster thing, but all the D&D stuff in there. That was my childhood. Remember D&D? Remember Thaco? I remember Thaco. You remember Thaco? I grew up with all that stuff. And it is so exciting. I'll tell you sometime about the first time my daughter played D&D. It was really cool. She had a cool character too. First time my son played D&D. I mean, which, by the way, yesterday was my son's birthday. Happy birthday, John. I love you. I'm going to stuff you with sushi tonight as your reward for being born. Good job. Way to stay in the game. D&D and role-playing means a lot to me. And it makes me angry and disappointed that these people think that the average person spending $100 out of their pocket to participate in their hobby is not enough. And the person who loves the hobby so much that they want to tell stories in it, they want to see their friends go on adventures and grow these characters and have these great stories to tell over and over and over again as their significant other's eyes glaze over and they go, oh, okay. Yeah, no, I've never heard the tale about the dragon before. Okay. It's more than a hobby for me. It's part of my life. It's a big part of my life. It led me into storytelling for a living. The books I wrote, I get a lot of times I've had people say, this would make a great role-playing game, which I'm sure it would. And we will see where that leads. But the bottom line is Hasbro is a corporation. They're not your friends. They're not your buddies. WotC is a corporation. It's not a bunch of geeks in a little office cube in Seattle running around playing Nerf gun tag and writing up cool shit for you. They are buttoned down corporate. And all they want to do is suck more money out of you. in my opinion. No, screw that. It's true. If this OGL is correct, and there are statements already out there that say we think D&D is under monetized. And as soon as you hear under monetized, if your sphincter suddenly clenches, there's a reason for that. So it's the ball is in your court, WotC. Ball is in your court, D&D. You can continue at the top of the heap, making more money than any other gaming company. Any other. Paizo fed you your lunch for a few years there, and then they made a lot of stupid, unwise decisions, and they went to the well too often. And one of the reasons that they also had a fall is because you introduced D&D, which was simple and fun, and not so simple as to be boring or repetitive. It was a great fifth edition is a great system. The D20 system from third edition is a great system. It's easy enough for people to learn quick. It's got enough flexibility in it that even folks who like their games a little more crunchy can crunch. And they've made some great product for fifth edition. They made some great product for third edition. I'm one of those schmucks who even liked some of the stuff in fourth edition. I actually bought into fourth edition too. I think it would have been much more successful if they'd taken the name D&D off of it, but it had some good things in it. And some of the things that were in fourth edition made it into fifth, and it was the good stuff. If you play any kind of spellcaster and you have those cantrips that you can just blast the hell out of things now over and over again, you can thank fourth edition for that, because it wasn't around before fourth. So to sum up, I really, really, really hope the folks at WotC listen to all the outrage and listen to the content that people are telling them right now. That your customers are telling you what they want and what they don't want. The secondary businesses that your industry, that your product produced and encouraged for 20 years are all terrified. A lot of them are pivoting. I was when I watched Arcane Library's video this morning, she has been doing this for a long time as a writer, writing for D&D adjacent third-party stuff, and she's pivoting. She's producing her own game system and putting it out there. And that is one of the beautiful things about right now, is you don't need, if this does happen and you see like a mass abandonment of D&D, there's so many other companies like Runehammer, Mephidius. There's a lot of companies out there who produce great products, quality products, and clearly still feel a kinship and a bond to the gaming community that supports them. Runehammer puts out free stuff. They dropped a bunch of stuff yesterday. In the middle of all of this, the guy who runs Runehammer basically put out a whole bunch of free stuff that you can just download because he loves the fans and he's not a greedy SOB. Anyways, that's pretty much it. And if you needed any salt for your popcorn, here it is. There you go. Enjoy, because it makes me really angry. I have friends, good friends, creative people who add to the lore and add to the imagination, add to the mythos of your D20 system. And they do it and they scrape out a little bit of a living. And some of them scrape out a pretty good living. And why is that bad? Basically, this isn't like D&D is like going, oh, we're so poor and broke and no one knows who we are. These parasites are just feeding off us. No. D&D is about to release a multi-million-dollar movie, another one. WotC also owns Magic, which is also having some trouble right now because they've gone to the well too many damn times to Magic card players. And that's saying a lot.
Because Magic card players are like, oh, when's the next set out? When's the next set out? Oh, where's the broken card? Where's the broken card? And they've oversaturated the market with that. So now, in a desperation attempt to scrape and milk every last fucking dime out of their customer base, the people who you're there to provide a product for and to provide, I know it's a dirty word, customer service to. Oh, does that make me a Nazi or something? Does it? Sorry. We're your customers. You've made plenty of money off of us. You've made plenty of money off of me in my lifetime. I've encouraged my children and friends and customers to play your games. And if you really want to play it this way, WotC, D&D, Hasbro, then let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Anyways, like I said, I know I always ask you guys to share. Please share this video because this is important. If you're a gamer or you love a gamer, you know, someone who's in recovery, please consider sharing this. Spread the word. Stand up and fight. This is our hobby. And it's not like if Wizards of the Coast does all this crap, it's not like I'm not gonna, you know, keep playing D&D. I've got my books. I've got everything from first edition forward. I can play any kind of D&D I want. I've also found all kinds of great games that I can go in my game store and spend money on that aren't D&D. I may miss out on the D&D beer cozy or the $400 Trask figure or the freaking, you know, head of Vecna, whatever. I may miss out on some of those. That's okay. I'll live. And I know we will all continue the hobby. We'll do it our own ways. But it's just sad because D&D as a brand name is kind of like Pepsi or Coke. It's like McDonald's. It is what the majority of normies and folks who are just kind of, you know, geek adjacent think of. A lot of times it'll be like, I'm playing this role-playing game. And they look at you kind of funny and go, it's like D&D. And they go, oh, yeah, D&D. You have plenty of free marketing. The best marketing, the best sales staff you will ever have is the fandom, is your customers. And if you really want to continue pissing them off, then you just go ahead and try to milk some more out of them. All right, to be continued. This will definitely will be some more videos on this. And sorry guys, I'll try to squeak some writing videos in between my outrage. But and actually I have a cool one. Jed Hearn did one not too long ago that I'm going to try to follow up on. He finished up his manuscript using some tips from Stephen King. And I really think it would be fun to do a little video on that. I want to start doing my Batman the Animated Series rewatch for you guys. I have some really exciting, fantastic news about one of my series that I am just in a holding pattern. I want to tell you guys about it so bad. Multiple projects, probably getting off the ground this year. That's very exciting. I also have some other news about another one of my series that I wanted to mention, but I'll hold up on that too until all the fucking lawyers. No, I shouldn't say that because actually one of the lawyers is representing me, so that's a good thing. Sorry, but basically until all the contracts are signed and you know the drop of blood has been placed on the paper and all that stuff, I guess gotta wait if I can spill the beans to you guys. Please consider signing up for my Patreon. Please like this video, share it, and even if you don't do those things, if you have gamer friends, make them aware of this. Make them aware of what's coming, because this is happening. This is just the rollout. It's really going to hit hard next year. But if we stand together and these corporations see that we're serious about, we'll just go on, we'll move on to something else. And by the way, you content creators out there who maybe you have been spending the last few years or decades working on stuff adjacent to D&D, your time to shine. Oh, by the way, D&D reached out to not Indiegogo, Kickstart, to make sure that they were made aware of D&D is going to get a little piece of those Kickstart projects. I've heard 2 or 3 creators who have Kickstarts ready to go or are in progress right now who are crapping their pants because of this. I believe in intellectual property rights. I believe in capitalism. I also believe that there's a thing called greed, and that greed infects everything, including socialism, I might add. But it especially is affecting this whole decision. And again, this has been leaked. I would like to state for the record, this could be a complete smokescreen. It could be gaslighting. It could be intentional gaslighting by WotC. It could be somebody out there on 4chan thought this would be hilarious punk for the lols. I don't know. But everything I'm hearing as of the date of this video is it's legit. And it's going to cause a lot of suffering. It's going to cause a lot of pain for a lot of people. So let's speak out about that. And let's tell D&D, Hasbro, and WotC that this is unacceptable to us and we will not stand for it. We have power. We have the power of the purse, which is the most in this world. That's what does the talking. Anyway, thank you guys so much again for bearing with me through this and listening to my rant and rave. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I am a shameless capitalist and I want to grow the channel so I can make. And check out my Patreon. I'll have a link in that in the description also. Have a fantastic day, and I will catch you guys on the next video.